Awesome. Okay. Well, thank you so much. We know that many of our community partners who are hubs were at our distribution center meeting last week. So we don't want to be redundant with the information, but we certainly want to say thank you again, because if it weren't for you amazing community partners, the Every Kid Outdoors program could not be what it is. So it's all because of you that kids and families are getting outside, and you're helping us to reach the objective and the mission of empowering people to spend time outside. And we have some amazing partners on this call, from strategic partners to organizations that are hosting beautiful events. And so many of you have gotten back to us and let us know that how your events are going. And so we appreciate you. My name is Ashley Brown. We probably have communicated over email. I've even met some of you, and I work on the Every Kid Outdoors initiative. We'll take just a moment to do team introductions for the Every Kid Outdoor team. Rebecca, would you like to go next?
Of course. Hi, I'm Rebecca Rawlings. I am our communications and brand manager specialist. Title still in the works. But I am happy to be here with you all. Thank you for being here.
Great. Karen, if you're on the call, would you like to go next?
Hi, I'm Karen Bell. I'm the education specialist for our team, and I'm so grateful to be here.
Thank you. And Tara, are you on the call? Maybe not. And then Caroline, are you here?
Yeah.
There she is.
There we go. I think Hi, everybody. My name is Caroline. I'll be talking a little bit later about our grants program, but I'm our youth engagement program manager and get to work with Ashley, Rebecca, and Karen.
Thank you so much, Caroline. And Tara might join. She's the executive director of grants. And so that is our team. Thank you so much for being here. And a couple of cool stats. We launched the community hub concept just this year in January 2026. And already we have 80 hubs statewide. And so thinking about that conceptually it's going to make a big impact. As you know, as many of you are community hubs on this call or strategic partners, our community hubs host on average about 4 events a year. Some are hosting less, some are hosting more. But what that means is there's approximately 300 Every Kid Outdoor associated free or low cost events across the state of Utah, because of all of you, because you're doing this work. And it's cool to think about this number that's probably close to 300, and we'll know a little bit more accurately towards the end of the year, in comparison to when we started last year in 2025, and the Division of Outdoor Recreation hosted an event every month. And we quickly realized that there was no way our team of 4, which was actually back then a team of 2, could reach the number of kids that were necessary. We couldn't reach kids across the state by hosting an event every month. It was impossible. And so that's where you come into play. You are really helping us and helping families across the state to spend time outside, empowering them through free events or low-cost events. And so I hope that you all know you're really making a big impact in your communities, and it's just pretty amazing. So Rebecca has a couple of announcements, and then we're going to go into a few tips about events before our guest speakers come on, and our guest speakers are going to be 2, Caroline Weiler, who introduced herself. You're going to learn all about grants and grant potential through the Division of Outdoor Recreation, and Travis from Basin Recreation. So we have some fun stuff lined up. And Rebecca, would you please start with the announcements? Thank you.
Absolutely. Some of these are repeats from our meeting last week, but just want to remind you all. First off, we have our Outdoor Recreation Summit put on by the Division of Outdoor Recreation. That'll be happening in September, and you all are invited to come and attend. By being an Every Kid Outdoors partner, you have you'll get 20% off if you register with the code EKO partner. It'll be held down at Southern Utah University in Cedar City. And there will be lots of different classes, activities, as well as a discussion panel with some of our community partners down. in Southern Utah. We also will be having our first ever in-person EKO Community Partner Social on September 8th in the afternoon. So we invite you to come and hang out with us there and get to network and meet other amazing community partners in person. So scan here to learn a bit more. Next up, just a quick reminder to complete the check-in survey if you haven't. Like Ashley was saying, this is how we're going to be able to measure the impact that we are having through these community partner programs, both to the distributing the passports and hosting events. So just a reminder to complete that by June 1st if you haven't already. You've got a couple more days. It helps us out a lot. Thank you so much. And yes, these are all the things you'll be able to request in that check-in survey. That's also where you'll be able to request more passports and other materials as well. If you're needing more, we'll be shipping those out. Well, our shipping partner will be shipping those out next week. So if you need more, now's the time to put in that request. And then want to highlight the next few events that Every Kid Outdoor is hosting. Our next one is going to be up in Logan Canyon. If you guys are interested in tabling as community partners, you get first dibs on tabling opportunities. So please reach out to us if your organization is interested in being there. It is up in Logan. It will be at Utah State on the quad up, and then we'll be having different events up throughout Logan Canyon. So we'll have some mountain biking and horseback riding, birding, canoeing, lots of different opportunities. So, and even if you don't want to come table, you're invited to come with your family. So this is our next one. This will be in August. And then the one after that will be held in October in Vernal. One of the activities there will be trying out their amazing new Via Ferrata out in Ashley Gorge. So we'll be doing some stargazing, mountain biking, fossils. It will be exciting. Again, if you are interested in tabling, you guys have first aids, please reach out to us and secure your table there. Okay, I'm going to pass it back to Ashley to talk a little bit about some event tips.
Thank you, Rebecca. That was beautiful. And also want to let you know, with the Every Kid Outdoor events, we do try our best to look at community partners that are in the area of the event and make sure we send you an invite to participate. However, if the event isn't near you and you still want to be part of it, we got word from the event planner that you will get first dibs, just like Rebecca said. So you can let us know if you want to participate. We'll make sure there is a spot for you. And this is a great time to plug our next speaker. So at our next focus group, which I believe is in early September, is actually going to be the event planner for the Division of Outdoor Recreation, Izzy Moore. So she's going to come and give some great details. However, in the meantime, we have just a few little bits of information that will hopefully help you as you are planning events. So one of them is that the more clear expectation that your event has, so including the date and the time and the location and what's going to happen and how people sign up, that will ensure that it's easier for people to register and it helps them to know what's going to happen at your event. So that's a great thing to keep in mind. Creating a registration, it's not mandatory, but it can be really helpful. It can be helpful tracking how many people come to your event. It can be helpful for potentially gathering feedback after the event. And also, even if your registration might not be through Eventbrite, you could even use a clicker to count the people that come to your event, just to kind of give you some understanding. And, you know, the more you keep the content clear and simple and easier to understand, the more likely it is people will be able to quickly glance at your event and sign up. We're all part of this same world. We all live in a world that has so much information all the time. So the best success often happens when we can look at something, register what it is right away, and then hopefully people will know and sign up. One of the things that can be a big incentive at events is some sort of food. And so you might have budget to buy food, but you also might have an opportunity to partner with some of the local organizations in your area, whether that's a food truck or even a grocery store. Sometimes they're willing to donate baked goods or treats or something like that. So you can get creative, and that might be an opportunity for you to say to the people who donate some food, hey, as a sponsor, we'll include your logo in our marketing materials, or you can have a flyer up at the table where we're going to serve this food. So kind of things to keep in mind as you're getting creative, and and send reminders. That's a helpful thing to let people know and remind them that the event's coming up if they've registered, or even if they've been thinking about it and you send them a reminder. It can really help people get there. And then one big component of hosting events is sharing the information. And a lot of our partners may have a budget to do it, and some of our partners might not have a budget to share information about the event, and that's okay. There's still a lot of opportunity to use free community calendars. So right away, I would say every person or every organization who's hosting an event, put it on Now Playing Utah. It's a great resource. It's free. It's a statewide calendar. And so that should be the best place to start. And then secondly, look at your local chamber website. Many chambers have free community calendars, and those community calendars might be heavily used by the local population. So wherever you are, check it out. See if there is a community calendar that's regional to your location. And if it is, then share it through there. Another idea is if you live near a college, that college might have a community calendar as well that you could plug into. And then, of course, local newspapers and print magazines will often encourage organizations to submit events, and they won't charge you anything to include it in the print publication. However, if you're going to submit an event to a print publication, it's helpful to think along the lines of having everything prepared 6 weeks or 8 weeks in advance, because usually print publications might be running kind of on a timeline that's quite a bit early, and some of them might be even earlier than that. But that's a great resource, and oftentimes they will not charge you. And certainly a very great way to share information about events is through your local school district. So obviously school is getting ready to wrap up, but when the fall starts, if you have events, look at the school district nearest you, contact the school district office, ask how you can submit an event to the school district, and then they'll often put that in their newsletter. Most of the time, these newsletters are digital, so it's just a great resource. And then, of course, you putting the event on our community calendar, the Division of Outdoor Recreation community calendar. We do have a media kit. You will receive a follow-up email for this focus group that includes this recording and a link to the media kit, just in case you don't have it. Please use that media kit to help create your flyers. Flyers can be very helpful if you're sending your event into any digital calendar. They look great on our calendar. They're perfect for social media. And so it's a really wonderful tool to have a flyer. Lynn, go ahead.
Hey, sorry, my camera's not working, but I have a question. I was looking through that social media kit that you were talking about, and you've got some really great flyers, and I wanted to personalize some to say these are our upcoming events where you can earn these specific badges. But I really like the template that you have. Is there any way that you could share like an editable template where you've got the same background and everything and the same elements?
I'm going to let Rebecca answer this as the graphic design master, and she'll be able to give you a clearer answer.
Yeah, we can definitely include that as part of the media kit. I think it would probably end up just being a Canva file that we could share that you could make a copy of and then edit, but that just could have the background that you can personalize.
That's perfect. We use Canva all the time, so that's great for us.
Yeah, us too.
Perfect. Thank you, Lynn, for that great question. And one thing about our community calendar, because it is an ask as our community partner that you submit the event to our community calendar, but when you do, it probably won't populate right away. And the reason why is because it's actually a team of humans that are reviewing every event submission and approving every event submission. So sometimes it could take 3 to 5 business days. If you don't see it after, say, a week, please let us know, and we'll make sure that it got through, or maybe it needs to be resubmitted. However, don't be surprised if it does take a few days for the event to show up. Right now, we have a request in. Rebecca submitted a request to modify the website so the submit event button will be right below the calendar. However, at this point in time, it does require navigating to a different page. And so what we're going to do is in this follow-up email, we're going to send that link as well. So you'll get a link to the media kit, and you'll get a link to the submit an event on our community calendar. And so, thank you for doing that. And thank you for making sure that your amazing events are included. I think the next slide is going to be a great example of some of our partners who use that media kit and created some beautiful slides or beautiful flyers. And one of the reasons why we ask you to send flyers or include a flyer with the community calendar submission is because we can include your flyers in our newsletter, which goes out once a month. And our newsletter now reaches over 3,000 families across the state of Utah. That number is continuously growing. And if you are very incentivized to have your event on our newsletter, you can also email me directly the flyer and say, hey, can you please make sure to gets on the newsletter? And that's a really good way to make sure that happens. And then this is a great segue. Lynn.
I'm so sorry. I just have another question. So when you want us to make these flyers, are there specific dimensions that they need to be for your website?
Yes, that's such a good question. We just got that information today. So for the flyer to show up on the website, not cut off. So if you go to the community, if you go to our Every Kid Outdoor page and you scroll down, you see a calendar, and some of those flyers show up completely and some of them are cut off. So we just heard, and we will include this also in this email follow-up, but it's a 16:9 ratio. So 16:9 ratio and 1920 and 1080 pixels. I think Rebecca maybe Rebecca can elaborate that better. And it's perfect timing because Rebecca's going to talk right now about our new social media. Well, it's not new anymore, but we do have a social media account, and talk a little bit about some incentives to share your events with us so we can get it there. So thank you, Rebecca. And if you have any way to clarify that ideal image size, if I said it wrong, then that would be great.
Yeah. So the size that's ideal for the community calendar is unfortunately not the same size that's usually ideal for anything else like social media or flyers. So what currently our community calendar is the 16:9, like that, which is the dimensions that like PowerPoint slides are. That's the size that will show up best. I'll just share this real quick. This is the community calendar. Right now, there's not currently a button. Soon there will be a button here to just add your event really easily. Thank you for that feedback. Right now, so some of these are cut off, but some like that are just a photo, maybe a photo for the community calendar might work better. I don't want to make you guys do even more work though, because you're doing so much for hosting. I don't want you to have to make, please don't make two different flyers. But this is 16:9. If you are wanting something that fits this perfectly, that's a 16:9. But then the other ones, like what Instagram likes, is a 4x5, like a rectangle, like a tall rectangle or square. Yeah. I don't know if that answered the question or gave any clarity, but talking about Instagram, we would love to share your events there as well. So any that are submitted to our calendar, I will be doing an event roundup of the upcoming events in the next few weeks. But I'm working on that later this afternoon. But any that you've submitted through the community calendar or have shared with us on Instagram, like tagged us in, anything else, I will be including there. So if you want to make sure that it's there, just make sure it's on the community calendar, and that's where I'll be pulling them from. So does anybody have any questions about that? Yes. We'll continue moving forward into our guest speakers. Drum roll, please. Let me tell you a little bit about them. First, we're going to be hearing from Travis Angal from Basin Rec. He's the community outreach supervisor. And as a California native, Travis grew up visiting Utah to ski with his family. After college, he made the move to Utah full time and hasn't looked back. He's been living in Park City for the last 12 years. And he started working at Basin Recreation about 3 years ago and has enjoyed integrating with the community and getting to expand their volunteer programs and reinvent the district events. So he's going to be telling us a little bit about how Basin Rec is using their existing event portfolio and current programming to integrate Every Kid Outdoors events. So Travis, we're looking forward to hearing from you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Becca. Like you said, my name's Travis. I grew up in Park City, Utah. Basin Recreation is a special district of Summit County up here. So we manage a couple 100 miles of trails, 5 full service parks, fields, a 48,000 square foot internal or inside recreation center. So we do a little bit of everything up here and stay busy, which leads me into what I'm gonna kind of explain. If you're expecting a groundbreaking new way to do this, I'm actually going to give you the exact opposite. Every Kid Outdoors kind of popped on our radar within the last year. Our director ran into the EKO team, I believe at a conference down in Southern Utah, brought it to us and said, I want this integrated into Basin Recreation. And my team, I say team, 2 of us run quite a bit of events. We have last year in 2025, we did 148 different programs, events, camps. That's everything from parent taught soccer to intro to lacrosse to mountain biking to bird watching. So we do a little bit of everything. And my brain exploded when he said, implement something new. So at first, my colleague and I were going, okay, what event can we come up with? What can we do that's new and exciting and we can put EK on there? And my colleague Hannah, who is much smarter than I, said, what if we just took what we have already and implemented it into EKO? So for instance, we have a ranger staff here who they're not enforcement, they're more educational rangers. So they're out on our trails, interacting with the public, doing education on e-bikes to biology surveys to stuff out there. And we said, well, they're already running these programs. What if we just implemented that program as one of the activities in the passport? And that kind of got the ball rolling. We're like, wow, we have like 148 events that we can pull from. And not to discredit our efforts, but it is so much easier to take our existing portfolio and add. The EKO program has given us such flexibility with what the activities are that we ended up finding that we had 50 to 60 programs that we could just basically slap one of the logos on and say, all right, you can get this sticker for this event that we're already running. It allowed us to really streamline the program. So a couple examples this year is the Rangers are going to be running a bird watching program. So we provide binoculars for all the kids. It's about 10 kids each. There's 3 of them throughout the year. They're going to go out along the Swanner Nature Preserve, which we have a commuter trail along, and do a little hike where they get to log their birds. And they actually are going to learn how to use the Birda app for anyone that is a birder. It tracks the birds, and then they'll get their stamp there. Personally, one of my favorite events that I run is our Start of Summer Color Run, which is as you can imagine, chaos covered in cornstarch and color. But it's a perfect fit because it's a 5K run that we get young kids out to, and then everybody gets color in color. If you ever go back on our Instagram and want to see some of the funniest photos ever, go check that one out. They look like Smurfs running through our park. Yeah, the whole idea was just to not reinvent the wheel. Yes, we have some ideas for some new programs. Our camp staff has already decided that in 2026 or 2027, they want to do an every kid outdoors camp. So this camp would be every single day would be doing a different activity. So whether that's stargazing, we'll do a night. We do what's called backyard camp out. We're going to integrate into that where we open our parks to campers for one night of the year. You're in a neighborhood basically, but at Park City, so we have some decent stars. So that would be one night. Then the next night would be going to the Weber River to do a float to get the aquatics. And then I think the big one too for us is being a snow town. You think everyone skis every single day, but we quickly found out that there's a whole group of people that don't go to the ski resort. What can we do for those people? So we've already started doing snowshoe hikes for kids and stuff that gets the kids outside that isn't so focused on a $700 ski pass and going to ski every single day. So there's a whole nother community out there that we've been able to tap into just by taking our existing events and adding this EKO into it. I probably ramble more than most, but any questions, anything, like I said, I'm a big proponent of the old abbreviation KISS, keep it stupid simple. So take what we have and implement the EKO program into what you already have is so much easier and so much easier to digest than trying to reinvent every event you've ever thought of.
Exactly. Thank you so much for sharing what you guys are doing, Travis. I'd love to have a little conversation now. If anybody has any questions about what Travis is doing at Basin Recreation and how you guys can integrate it into yours, we have a good 10 minutes for Q&A.
Well, I'll kind of just start, Travis. That was such a helpful to share. And what you explained was actually our big intention behind the community hub concept, was that our partners would be able to take the ideas and incorporate it to what you're already doing. So I'm so glad that you shared that it worked for you, and that saying, okay, let's look at what resources we already have. Let's look at, the programs we already have in place, and how can we incorporate this into those programs. So I love that you shared that. And I love that you shared some specific examples of how you did that. That was just awesome. And I'm curious if people don't have questions. If you have questions, great. Or maybe there's other listeners out there who have done something similar to what Travis described, that you looked at the programs you were already running and you incorporated Every Kid Outdoors concepts into them. If anybody would like it to share a story as well, I think this is also a good place for questions and just kind of mentorship.
Yeah, I can add one more thing too. We went literally as simple as we just ordered 300 more passports because they started to go quicker than we were expecting. But we went as simple as giving every field employee, we have trails maintenance people, we have our rangers, we have open space staff, and they're out in the community every single day. And we basically gave 10 passports to every employee. Like if you run into a kid out in the field, if you're at a park, if you're at a trail, hand them a passport, and you don't have to give them a 20-minute explanation of it, but just start the conversation. We've actually seen a ton of success with kids then signing up for one of our programs just because they got handed a passport.
Oh, I love that. That's so helpful to share, Travis. And Maddie, I'd love to hear what you have to say.
I was going to say something along the same lines, because grassroots we overcomplicate shit sometimes. We have posters, we have flyers, we do digital ads, conservation job boards, but my best performing, and I do QR codes on all my stuff, my best performing and I recruit young young adults, right, for conservation. So it's kind of this, it's pretty much the same demographic, but you can have individual QR codes for up to 10 or 11 for free, and you can track what your posters does versus a flyer. And it's just, yes, talking to people and inviting them. Like I got 50 people to a star party last Thursday from Monticello. That's like a third of the population down there. I'm joking. But it worked 15 years ago when I started the Color Run, Travis. Lawsuit coming soon. And it still works today. So like, just talk to people. Like people want connection. And the way you connect is a penny or 2 flyer, and people come. Go to the store, go to the grocery store, put flyers on cars, go to like any 5K, put flyers on cars until they tell you not to. That's what I would say.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Maddie. Super helpful. And you're absolutely right. The Every Kid Outdoors initiative is kind of a grassroots thing. I mean, we're working with community partners across the state to make this happen. And each community partner, you're involved in your community. And so thank you for that reminder that it doesn't have to be super complicated. It can be as simple as reminding people that they're invited. And then that's a big form of empowerment.
Well, and I think about too the demographic, like almost every one of our towns has a farmer's market. The people who go to farmer's market are the same people who want to go outside. Like they're thoughtful. So just find those. Yeah. Anyway, I'll stop. I'll shut up.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Any other questions, comments, feedback, perspectives? Well, it's probably because you're all really excited to learn about grants. So Rebecca's going to introduce our next speaker, Caroline Weiler.
Yes, and thank you again, Travis. Really appreciate your taking the time to share with us and hopefully inspire as well. Caroline did already introduce herself a little bit, but I'm going to share even more about Caroline. She works closely with the EKO team, and she manages various grants. Currently, all of the ones that she manages are youth engagement specific, and they've changed a little bit this year. So she has some exciting stuff to share with us. There are 3 youth engagement grants available to EKO community partners. So without further ado, I will turn it over to you, Caroline. Did you have slides you wanted to share?
Yeah, I was just going to ask if what's easier. Do you want me to share?
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead.
Perfect. All right. Well, it's really great to be with everybody here today. This is a great group of people, and I'm always impressed with just the quality of work that Rebecca and Ashley do to put together such a really incredible presentation and giving you guys really helpful information about not only what it means for us, for you as community partners, but how we can actually elevate what you're doing, hopefully in your various spheres. And that kind of leads with us into what I'm going to talk about today with our grants and helping you with some actual dollars on the ground, because I think that's the piece that a lot of people sometimes are like, all right, cool, we're going to do this stuff with kids. How can we actually get them outside? Okay, so in my role with the division for the last 4 years, I've managed a few of our grant programs. And so I'm fairly familiar with the funding structure that we have here in the division and how it works. So if you have questions about other grants, we have a lot of infrastructure grants that are larger scale, up to $1 million. Maybe by like shout out your favorite emoji down here. Who's like applied for a grant from the Division of Outdoor Recreation in the past? I know there's definitely a few of you. All right. Yep. Cool. So hopefully we can get that number skyrocketing, because you guys as our Every Kid Outdoor community partners have a huge advantage with the knowledge you have about the division, the close proximity that you have with our team, the work that you're doing that's aligned with our mission and values from both the Division of Outdoor Recreation and the Department of Natural Resources. So this is something we definitely want you to take advantage of, especially this year as you develop your programs and continue to spread the good word of EKO. So the 3 programs I'm going to chat with you about today are all branches of kind of the same idea, and that's getting kids outside. So we have first the Bread and Butter program, which is the Utah Children's Outdoor Recreation and Education Grant. And I'll go into specifics of all three of these. But to give you a gist, this is kind of your basic programmatic costs. This is something the division is really excited about because most of our grants, like I mentioned, are infrastructure related. And we have this kind of piece of programming and education that sometimes gets overlooked, but is a crucial part in all that we do here in Utah. So this is where we can go to get your basic staff coverage, equipment purchases, transportation, if you're Basin Rec and want to do scholarships for your participants, things of that nature. Bringing Karen onto the team has been crucial and so helpful in so many ways, but most has been her advocacy for teachers. This last grant cycle, I was excited to hopefully see a few more teachers apply for the for UCORE because it's open to all teachers. And we didn't have quite as many as I was hoping. And I think it's because of Karen's astuteness that maybe it's a little bit too competitive for educators to be competing against multi-million-dollar organizations. And so we wanted to make it more equitable to have a pot of money that's specifically for educators. So your third grade teacher up in Logan that wants to take her kids snowshoeing has kind of they're up against another equivalent teacher type applicant. And so we created this new program, the UCORE Educator Grant. And we'll talk a little bit more about that, but kind of in the same realm. This is still programmatic elements, maybe a field trip, transportation costs are always a burden. But that's specifically for like schools, districts, and classrooms. And then the third one is maybe if you're familiar with our grant programs, you've known that we've had the outdoor classroom paired with UCORE in the past. And the outdoor classroom, as the name implies, was mostly for outdoor learning. It was created about 3 years ago in hopes that we could get more teachers teaching kids outside, honestly. And it kind of has been dormant. Not as many people have been excited about it. So we worked it to be not just an outdoor classroom, but this nature-based infrastructure, which we'll talk a little bit more about later, but might help you expand kind of what that looks like in terms of outdoor learning, not just as like a classroom to facilitate discussion in, but a way to learn different recreation sports and movement. So those are the three categories. All three categories have very similar parameters in that they're all $15,000 in the max amount that you can request. You don't have to ask for $15,000. That's usually what people ask, but that teacher that I mentioned up in Logan needed $500 to take her kids snowshoeing. So there's definitely a range that you can find yourself in. Over on the left, you can see who is eligible for all these grants. And I failed to include teachers and educators in that list. So we need to update that. But this is for anybody that's not state or federal, basically. And then our grant timeline is a little bit earlier this year. So we're going to be opening it up towards the end of summer on August 3rd. And you'll have 6 weeks to write your application. And here at the division, we like to think of ourselves as like an open door policy. So anybody who wants questions about the grants or anything, please feel free to reach out. Karen is going to be on board helping this year with helping with the application and writing it. And she already has been, so she'll be a great tool as well. So I put both of our emails up there. And Karen, again, is our education specialist. So diving a little bit into the nitty gritty of like, what is this for? Hopefully you get the theme of it's kind of aligned with our Every Kid Outdoors badges. So we've got a chart here that shows you a little bit of some of the general things that we've seen people ask in the past and what are eligible activities. So anything nature discovery wise that gets kids outside learning, maybe it's a little bit more STEM related, but can also be, we've had like photography and wildlife viewing along with those things. Anything that's happening on a trail, whether it's on a motorized or a horse or a bike or just taking kids on hikes. Again, this is like equipment purchases, transportation, food, all those things that make up your program. Staff time can be included in that as well. This can be all season. So if you have something happening in the wintertime, summertime, we've got water sports, you can see it kind of runs the whole gamut. If you have specific questions about like, does mine fit in this, please reach out. The chances are yes. I just was on a call with Karen with somebody who teaches magic. And I was kind of like, okay, how are we going to tie that to outdoor learning? But he had a good case. So anyway, there's lots of room for us to explore and get you involved. We've had adaptive scuba diving here in Utah. So lots of fun activities that we see people apply for. Okay, going into just a general overview of ineligible and eligible costs. Over on the left, obviously everything in green we can help out with. So one thing I'll mention in this last grant cycle that we saw is if you're kind of expecting this grant to cover a large portion of executive functions and leadership costs, it probably won't be as scored as high as, say, like a seasonal staff position. That's not going to be something that we'll have to sustain year after year, but it's like a one-time, we need to cover our bases for the summer programming. So staffing time within reason is definitely something you can apply for. Like I mentioned, transportation, I would say for this group where you are maybe partnering with schools to come on field trips to your locations throughout the year, it looks really good for you to have busing covered for those schools. So let's say you were, we have an example up at the Bear River Migratory Bird Refuge. They applied for a grant just for busing. And so all fourth graders within the school districts nearby were able to take the bus and go on a field trip to their location, thus increasing the number of students that the organization can say that they served. So we love to see numbers. That's something that looks really good on reporting of how many students did you serve, how many participants were able to go through your program. The more, the better. Obviously, within reason, we don't want to sacrifice quantity for quality. If you want to print something, if there's materials that you need, if it's something that for educational purposes you're looking to print and provide, definitely can help with that. Volunteers are important for our programs. So if you need to house them or provide lodging, we do cover insurance if that's something that you're in need of, entry fees for field trips and education-based events, scholarships, like I mentioned, and then swag incentives. And I think the most popular and the one that we love to see the most is equipment purchasing, because that means that your program could be sustainable year after year. If you purchase a bunch of harnesses, at least for the next 5 years, then we know that we're serving X amount of students year after year. So these, again, are for the categories of both UCORE and UCORE for educators. So these are the programmatic pieces. Ineligible costs are things like infrastructure, because that's where the nature-based learning, or nature-based play grant comes in. So if you needed an outdoor learning space of actual, like something on the ground, that's where you would apply for that, not here. This is all happening within Utah. So if you're kind of on the border of our state, make sure that all the programming is happening within state boundaries and with state participants. So we can't bring kids from Colorado or Idaho down. This has to be for Utah kids. We do help with educational printing and materials, but not with marketing. So we've talked about this EKO program. We couldn't help you print marketing materials to promote something like that. But once they're actually there, we can help with the printing of materials used with the kids. And then some other costs related with just like overhead costs, so facility, rental, utilities, all of that we would not be able to support. Again, more questions, please reach out. Okay, so this kind of leading from our programmatic to grants. Hopefully that was clear. There's one for teachers. It's a pretty similar application to the one for nonprofit cities and towns. But there are two separate categories, all for programs. Now going into the nature-based infrastructure play, I just put some pictures together just so we can kind of get an idea of what we're expecting with this grant or hoping for. So like I mentioned, the outdoor classroom grant was primarily pavilions, amphitheaters, picnic tables, which are great, but we wanted to take a step further of what actually is nature-based infrastructure. What does outdoor learning look like? And so thinking about things like putting in a pump track. I'm trying to convince everybody here that they should put pump tracks in on school grounds, and we're not getting quite there. But I was in Wyoming and they had a pump track all around the outer ring of their field. And it was so cool because during PE or even after school, the kids can practice pump tracks on school property. There are some risks and liability there that definitely need to get worked out. And with all of these applications, especially as a school, we would ask for that input from those over liability. Traffic garden is a really cool, maybe like for smaller kids, if you wanted to practice. This is, if you're not familiar with a traffic garden, it's basically learning how to drive, but on a bike for littles in a safe environment. So you can see they have lanes, they have lights, they have intersections, and they learn rules of the road, but in the safety of a school area. And that's something we would love to see. Pretty simple. If you already have a asphalt top, putting something like this on with some paint, not too hard. Definitely we can still support these more traditional outdoor classroom spaces. So if you're interested in putting in some learning areas outside, we would love to help with that as well. But I think thinking of just how are we engaging with kids in the space outside, and there's lots of good examples with Ogden Nature Center, for example, put in this really cool adaptive tree house that a kid in a wheelchair could roll up to and still participate in birding at a higher level. Putting in shade structures, especially this summer when it's going to be very warm, would be helpful to just ensure that people can spend more time outside in an enjoyable way. Okay, so those are the kind of 3 buckets of the grants. And again, I know we're going over these fast. Plugging this, Karen and I will be doing like a full deep dive grant webinar that we'll be hosting, or we'll be filming and kind of just sending out to the crowds, and we'll make sure that we get that to you in your next community newsletter with more details about the application, what kind of questions we're asking, what to be aware of in that regard. But this gives you a good overview and gets you a couple months still to think and plan. So a few details. All of these are matching requirements that are suggested. So our grants are matching, meaning that you, the participant, the applicant, would put in some skin in the game, as we call it, and then the state would come in and provide a majority of the fund. But for example, it's a 20% match that we suggest, and that is a loose suggestion. If you are somebody coming in and saying, hey, this is what we're working with, we're on a shoestring budget, let us know, and we can usually accommodate if your program is valuable. So that would look like you have a program worth $10,000. We would come in with 8, you would come in with 2, and we would support you that way. The match is usually, and what we'd hope, consists of some cash. So that can look like your staff time going towards the project, or if you have other donations coming in from outside foundations or other revenue streams that you would use to match. We can also utilize in kind as a portion of that as well. So some of it needs to be cash, some of it can be in kind, and that can look like volunteers coming in to help you with programming. A lot of gear, outdoor gear companies are more than willing to donate gear for folks, and that can look as an in-kind donation of, hey, I gave you 10 backpacks at $100 a piece. Now we have $1,000 of in-kind. We'll include these slides, I think, at the end. So there's a couple links of like what a budget sheet would look like for you to fill out, the final report, just ideas to get you thinking about what we're actually asking. I won't go over both of those right now, but we are trying to be as transparent as possible about our grants. There's no secrets. We want you to be able to ask us questions at any point during the process, and we try to make it pretty streamlined, like I mentioned. I think that's my last slide. So I'm more than happy to answer any questions about the grants. Just knowing that we have 10 minutes and then more questions can come. Email me and later on.
Well, thank you so much, Caroline. I think that the grants are a huge asset for our community partners. And, you know, hopefully some of you are hearing about these for the first time, but I'm also curious for grant applicants who have, who are on the call and who have maybe received funding from the youth engagement grants. If any of you have had success in incorporating the Every Kid Outdoor themes, adventure challenge into those grant applications, and maybe not, maybe you just have some ideas. So this is really open for questions for Caroline, but also comments that might help other listeners too, to get ideas or have some concepts about how they could incorporate the grants into ways to get families outside.
And I think just on that note, on both or all 3 of the applications, there will be a question about, are you an Every Kid Outdoor community partner? And that will weigh in on, you know, the scoring. So you guys being where you are, like I mentioned, poised really well for, because these are competitive. I think we have $850,000 to give out this year. And we usually see well over that in requests. So it will be competitive, but you guys have all the right tools to make a compelling argument.
I have a question. Can an organization or group apply for the UCORE and the infrastructure, or is it just one of them?
Yeah, great question. You can definitely apply for both of them. We've had schools in the past do that. And if they're both compelling grants and are written well and have a good argument, that would be great. I would say the only thing is don't apply for two in the same category. So don't apply for two UCORE grants, because then you're competing against yourself, but within two separate categories, definitely.
Okay, cool. And then another one is, I have so this is in regards to Camping in Color, which is a group that exists to take minorities out to experience camping for the first time. But we also have a fiscal sponsor who I know is already getting UCORE grants. Is it a problem with that kind of setup? Like,
yeah, for you both to be going after grants.
Yeah. Would we want, that's when we would want to break them up, or how do I manage that when my fiscal sponsor is in the same space?
Yeah, totally. I think we would just want to be transparent about the funding going towards two different programs and not over or double matching, right? So if you're like, oh, I'm getting this UCORE grant from the fiscal sponsor, and then I'm also getting one, and they're kind of matching, we don't want the grants to match one against another. So, and I guess we can talk more definitely about your specific situation, about, you know, there are different programmatic elements that we can apply for, where Camping in Color can apply for this portion, and then the other one applies for a different category or a different portion of the program. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. I probably would like to circle back with
Definitely.
them and you at some point then. Thank you.
Let's chat.
So that's actually my question as well. We have a partnership with Fremont Indian State Parks, and I'm with 4-H, Sevier County 4-H, and the coordinator, and we're starting a new outdoor rec program for our county and beyond. And they're going to give us the physical space to hold our club, and we want to build a building we can store like all of the stuff in, but they were going to kind of head up that part, and we were going to head up all of the partnerships to get the stuff, whether that's grants or other people, right? Whether that's bows or boats or all the different things that we need. And so we didn't know where we're partnering for the same purpose, but it's different pieces. It made sense to let them do the land part of it because they already own the land and have already gotten approval to use part of it for the building that would house all the stuff, if you will. Mm-hmm. So I didn't know if we should try to do, like, it makes sense to let them apply for that part of whichever grant. But then my question was, does that conflict? They're for different parts of what we're doing, but we're kind of doing it together.
Yeah. Well, props on making that partnership, because that's huge, first and foremost. This one makes it kind of easy. Unfortunately, state parks are ineligible to apply for this specific funding. So they can't apply and you can. So I would say if you wanted to put in, I don't know how that would work on, you know, an MOU of building something on their property, maybe not, but the programmatic piece of you like housing stuff on their land. And then they could also use, if you could use some of their dollars that you're, that they're giving to you for it, maybe it's in kind as a match.
Right. That's how we do last.
But yeah.
Caroline, do you have a contact? Because our program is pretty hefty, and we applied for one of the UCORE grants in March, but we just misunderstood it because it was our first time, and we applied for everything under one grant, and they kind of came back and said, this looks awesome, but this is all the things, and we would only do the structure part of it for this grant. And so I just feel a little lost, like we've done all of the work for the whole program, but I feel lost on where to apply what parts to what pieces. So can I get your contact information and schedule an appointment with you so we can not waste anyone else's time with doing the wrong thing?
Yeah, and this is something our division is definitely aware of, because there are millions of dollars of grants that we give out every year. So the infrastructure grant that you applied for in March is totally separate from the UCORE. So let's get together and kind of strategize, because I'd love to help you with this cycle. And then if there's next spring that you do want to have infrastructure, state parks is eligible for that funding. So there's so many little, rules and regulations that we have to follow. But yeah, that's my email if you want to shoot me a message and we
I'm
can
just trying to find the chat on here. I'm
It's
not
like in the
familiar with Google.
bottom right in the middle between the tools and the details.
Okay, I'll find it.
Okay, while we were able to find that, Sandra, it's on like the little hamburger 3-dot menu.
I did find the chat, but I don't see her message.
Okay.
Let me try again.
Okay, I'm just gonna share this real quick. Just a final reminder to fill out the survey. Perfect time to do it right after this meeting. Thank you to those who have, and thank you so much, everyone who has shared, and we're so grateful for your participation. Ashley, was there anything else you wanted to say as we wrap up?
I mean, really just a big thanks. What I will do is in the follow-up email that we'll send, I'll CC Caroline. So if anybody, wants a direct connection to her, I'll actually CC our whole team. So if anybody's been thinking, we have an idea to collaborate with a local school or educators, I'll CC Karen Bell. Rebecca will be here will be CC'd too. So you'll have all 4 of our email addresses in that email. And then, good question. Heath says, by the way, when this meeting started, I received 26 emails from Otter AI. We were wondering about letting people's note takers be part of the meeting. Those are the 26 emails you probably received, is all the different note takers. We did admit them, thinking that it might be helpful for some people to go back and review, but maybe we'll reassess that for the next one so people aren't getting spammed with 26 emails. That's a very helpful thought. And just huge thanks to Travis and Caroline for sharing helpful information, and would love to see y'all all down in Cedar City for the Utah Outdoor Recreation Summit. There is so many opportunities for collaboration there, and so many opportunities to grow your organization and your business. And one thing I did want to just kind of mention is that for the youth engagement grants, the organization, it needs to be registered as a nonprofit or a municipality, educational institution, tribal government. However, for-profit, and Caroline, correct me if I'm wrong, for-profit organizations or organizations that aren't registered as a nonprofit are not eligible. Am I getting that right, Caroline?
Correct.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah, and thank you. We couldn't do it without you.
I'm sorry. Can you repeat that last part? Ashley, did you say organizations that are nonprofits are not eligible?
Nonprofits are eligible, yes.
Oh.
So it's got to be registered as a 501c3. Is that accurate, Caroline? Yeah. So I wanted to plug that because I had a feeling that might be helpful information for you, Salam, is that, I think Campaign Color is a great example of a good nonprofit, but that, having that being registered as a nonprofit will be an important part for the application process.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And we appreciate all of you. We'll send a follow-up email. You all are amazing. Couldn't do it without you. And Sandra, I see that you can't see the chat. So I'll follow up with you as well, just to make sure that you've got the info. So thanks to everybody. You're all amazing.